Jessica and Mitesh Patel were a British Indian married couple who lived in Middlesbrough, in the Teesside area of North Yorkshire in northeastern England. Jessica was 34 years old when she died. Mitesh was 36 at the time of the killing and 37 when he was convicted. They had known each other since childhood and had been married for almost 9 years. Together, they acquired and operated a pharmacy near their home. Jessica had always wanted to become a mother and believed that marrying Mitesh would give her the opportunity to fulfill that dream. In reality, Mitesh's deception, domestic abuse, secret relationships, and double life ultimately destroyed it. Jessica Patel was born into a large Hindu family and community in Leeds, West Yorkshire. The preservation of Hindu faith, culture, and dharma played an important role within the community in which she grew up. Jessica was the eldest of 3 daughters. She, her parents, her sisters, and several members of her extended family lived together in a household of 12 people. In approximately 2002 or 2003, she began studying at De Montfort University in Leicester. It was there that her relationship with Mitesh began. Although the two families had known one another for years, and Jessica and Mitesh had played together as children. Their first university relationship lasted for approximately 6 months. At first, the young couple met without their families knowing about the relationship. Jessica later had to interrupt parts of her education in order to support her family and care for her mother, who had been diagnosed with breast cancer. During this painful period, her relationship with Mitesh was rekindled. He appeared to be a friendly and sociable young man who surprised Jessica with gifts and gave her teddy bears. He provided emotional support during her mother's illness. And after her death in November 2005, Jessica graduated from De Montfort University in July 2005. She subsequently obtained a place to study pharmacy at King's College in London, but she left the course after her mother's death and returned to Leeds. In September 2006, she began studying pharmacy at the University of Manchester, graduating in July 2010. In 2008, Jessica spoke to her father about marrying Mitesh. Her family initially opposed the marriage because they did not believe he was suitable for her. They eventually gave their consent after Jessica made it clear that she wanted to remain with him. Jessica and Mitesh married in July 2009. The elaborate Hindu wedding was held at her family home in Leeds. Photographs from the ceremony show Jessica as a radiant bride wearing an elaborate sari, a traditional South Asian garment that can be up to approximately 8 meters long. The fabric is wrapped around the body, with one end draped over the shoulder. The sari is an enduring symbol of South Asian and Hindu culture. Jessica's relatives and friends described her as a selfless, gentle, and caring woman who would never deliberately hurt anyone. She once told her uncle that she would cure him of cancer if she could. Jessica, affectionately known as Jess or Jazz, was patient, calm, and easy to laugh with because she had an excellent sense of humor. Jessica believed deeply in love and was a dreamer. As a teenager, she watched many Bollywood films with her sisters and imagined that she would one day fall in love, marry, and have a family of her own, just like the romantic stories she saw on screen. More than anything, she wanted to become a mother. Her family said that Jessica was beautiful not only in appearance, but also in character. She supported the people around her and treated others with exceptional kindness and generosity. As the firstborn child in her family, she brought immense happiness to the household, and her warm smile reflected her gentle and innocent nature. Even during the difficult years surrounding her mother's illnesses and death, Jessica continued working toward her ambitions. Through determination and perseverance, she overcame the obstacles in her path and became a pharmacist. Her colleagues regarded her as a dedicated healthcare professional who understood that her work was about helping people and improving their lives. After their marriage, Jessica lived with Mitesh and his family in the Halifax area. In approximately 2013 or 2014, the couple moved to Middlesbrough, more than 70 kilometers away from much of Jessica's close family. They initially worked as locum pharmacists. In April 2015, they acquired the lease of a pharmacy on Roman Road. In 2016, they bought and renovated a house on the avenue in the Linthorpe area of Middlesbrough. In February 2010, Jessica's grandfather became gravely ill and later died. Members of the family took turns staying with him, but Mitesh prevented Jessica from returning home and spending as much time with him as she wished. Jessica told one of her younger sisters that during an argument about her grandfather, Mitesh struck her while they were inside a car. According to the later domestic homicide review, this incident marked part of a wider pattern of controlling, coercive, and physically abusive behavior. The violence and humiliation escalated over time. Jessica's family later learned of insults, physical assaults, choking incidents, and objects being thrown at her. While training at a pharmacy in Bradford during 2010 and 2011, Jessica confided in a colleague that Mitesh was not sexually interested in her and that she suspected he was gay. She had noticed that he spent long periods speaking privately with other men. On one holiday, he reportedly spent much of the night with a male tour guide. On other occasions, he left the marital bed when male friends stayed at their home. Jessica also discussed her concerns with a cousin. She said that whenever Mitesh was speaking on the telephone in the bedroom and she entered the room, he would immediately leave and continue the conversation elsewhere. He sometimes stayed away until approximately 4 o'clock in the morning. In December 2012, while Jessica was on holiday with her family, her youngest sister found an intimate conversation on Mitesh's telephone between him and another man. The two men had written that they loved each other. Jessica struggled to accept what she had seen and remained determined to save her marriage. Because she did not know the password to Mitesh's telephone and he guarded the device closely, she could not fully determine who he was contacting. Jessica raised the issue with Mitesh's brother. This led to a family meeting, but Mitesh's sexuality and relationships were not honestly addressed. Instead, Jessica was blamed for the problems in the marriage. Her father offered to support her if she wished to leave, but Jessica said she had chosen Mitesh and would make the marriage work. Meanwhile, Jessica's hopes for a happy marriage continued to collapse. In 2012, she told relatives that she and Mitesh had not been intimate for approximately 10 months. The lack of intimacy would continue for years. Despite everything, her wish to become a mother remained unchanged. In October 2015, after several years of marriage with little or no sexual intimacy, Jessica began private in vitro fertilization treatment at the London Women's Clinic in Darlington. Natural conception was unlikely because the couple rarely had sex and their relationship was becoming increasingly strained. In April 2016, Jessica consulted her general practitioner about anxiety, stress, and the pressure she felt to conceive. She was referred for low-intensity cognitive therapy. In September 2016, she was prescribed medication for anxiety and depression. Jessica continued dreaming of motherhood, even after discovering further compromising messages and photographs on Mite's telephone. Mitesh spent hours communicating with men through Grindr and other dating applications. In 2017, Jessica attempted to speak openly with him and encouraged him to be honest about his sexuality. In a written message, she told him that she would forgive him if he admitted the truth. Mitesh rejected her accusations, insisted that he had done nothing wrong, and claimed that Jessica was the only person in his life. He told her that he loved her and wanted to remain with her forever. Jessica then suggested stopping the IVF process, but Mitesh strongly opposed the idea. According to her family, he threatened to leave or divorce her if she did not continue with fertility treatment. The couple attended an NHS fertility clinic at James Cook University Hospital during July or August 2017. After that treatment was unsuccessful, Jessica returned to the London Women's Clinic in Darlington in December 2017. While Jessica was going through emotionally and physically demanding fertility treatment, Mitesh used the pharmacy they owned for secret meetings with other men. Pharmacy CCTV footage from 2017 showed him kissing and touching another man inside the premises. Colleagues also discovered that Mitesh was taking medication that reduced his sperm count. The Domestic Homicide Review concluded that there was no identified medical reason for him to take it, and that it was probably part of his deception surrounding the couple's inability to conceive. Mitesh openly belittled Jessica at work. He shouted at her in front of employees and customers, called her stupid, and reduced her to tears. He slammed doors, threw objects, and kicked fixtures inside the pharmacy. On one occasion, a colleague noticed that Jessica was limping. Jessica said that she had bruised her leg. Mitesh later admitted to a member of staff that he had thrown a mobile telephone at her and injured her. Mitesh also falsely told people that Jessica had been pregnant with twins and had suffered a miscarriage. In reality, she had not been pregnant. Jessica was distressed when she had to correct the lie, while Mitesh treated it as a joke. Her family believed that he deliberately used her strongest wish, becoming a mother, as a way to humiliate and control her. Over time, Jessica spoke less openly about her problems and appeared frightened whenever her marriage was discussed. She told one of her sisters that Mitesh's mother also verbally abused her. Jessica admitted to an uncle that the marriage was joyless and that she was unhappy, but asked him not to tell her father. She said she was still trying to strengthen the marriage and hoped that it would improve. In February 2018, Jessica reportedly told her youngest sister that Mitesh had placed his hands around her neck. In March 2018, Jessica's latest IVF treatment successfully produced 3 embryos, which were fertilized and frozen. They had not yet been transferred to her. Jessica was overjoyed that motherhood finally seemed possible and shared the news with her family. Her dream became a nightmare on Monday, the 14th of May, 2018. Jessica and Mitesh had recently returned from a holiday in Fuerteventura, one of the Canary Islands. On the evening after their return, Jessica arrived home following her normal shift at the pharmacy. It was approximately 7:10 in the evening when she entered the house on the avenue in Linthorpe. The person waiting inside was not an unknown burglar. It was Mitesh. Prosecutors said that Mitesh used insulin in the attack before strangling Jessica with a reusable Tesco shopping bag. The post-mortem examination established that Jessica died from pressure to her neck. Her larynx was badly damaged. She fought for her life and scratched Mitesh's neck with her fingernails, but she died within a short period. After killing her, Mitesh bound Jessica's hands and feet with duct tape and ransacked the rooms to create the appearance of a burglary. He scattered belongings across the floor, moved objects throughout the house, and concealed the CCTV hard drive in a suitcase. He then left the property and went to the pharmacy and a nearby takeaway restaurant, ensuring that surveillance cameras recorded him. He ordered pizza to manufacture an alibi and sent Jessica a message about buying food even though he knew she was already dead. Mitesh returned home and called the British emergency number 999 at approximately 8:22 in the evening. He told the operator that someone had broken into the house, that the property had been ransacked, and that his wife was injured and unconscious on the floor, with duct tape around her hands and feet. During the call, he pretended to plead with Jessica to wake up. When Jessica's relatives arrived after the killing, they initially had no idea that Mitesh was responsible. One of her sisters sat beside him, held his hand, and tried to comfort him. Mitesh placed his head on her shoulder and portrayed himself as a grieving widower. The police, however, quickly became suspicious. There was no evidence of forced entry, and the home CCTV showed that no unknown intruder had entered the property during the relevant period. When investigators asked Mitesh about the scratches on his neck, he claimed that they had been caused during an accident at the gym. Jessica's DNA was later found beneath her fingernails. Police also discovered 4 syringes in Mitesh's laptop bag. 2 contained insulin, and 2 contained a fast-acting sedative. Investigators found a roll of duct tape hidden at the pharmacy. The end of the roll physically matched the tape used to bind Jessica. Of the most important pieces of digital evidence came from the health applications on Jessica's and Mitesh's iPhones. Mitch's telephone recorded frantic movement through the house, including repeated trips up and down the stairs while he staged the burglary. Jessica's telephone recorded no activity during that period. At approximately 7:44 in the evening, after Jessica was already dead, her telephone registered 14 steps. Investigators concluded that these steps were recorded when Mitch carried the device outside and discarded it in an attempt to make it appear that a fleeing burglar had dropped it. Mitesh was arrested within days of Jessica's death and charged with murder. During questioning, he continued insisting that an intruder had killed her. He also said that he had not properly attempted resuscitation because he was confused and panicking. Investigators examined Mitesh's internet activity from the years before the murder. The searches showed that the killing was not the result of a spontaneous argument. He had researched strangulation, insulin overdoses, lethal quantities of drugs, hiring a hitman, life insurance payments after murder, and Hindu funeral customs. Other reported searches included phrases such as, "I need to kill my wife," and "plot to kill my wife." 5 days before the murder, He made an inquiry about creating a will under which the surviving spouse would inherit the estate. The investigation revealed that Mitesh had been leading a double life and had been in a long-term relationship with a man publicly identified in court reporting as Dr. Patel, who later moved to Sydney, Australia. The official domestic homicide review used pseudonyms for people other than Jessica and her husband. Mitesh regarded Amit as his soulmate and dreamed of moving to Australia to live with him. Evidence suggested that Mitesh wanted to take one of Jessica's frozen embryos to Australia so that he and Amit could raise a child. Money would not have been a major obstacle because Mitesh expected to receive approximately £2 million from life insurance policies covering Jessica. After a trial lasting approximately 3 weeks at Teesside Crown Court, Mitesh Patel was found guilty of Jessica's murder. On the 5th of December, 2018, Mr. Justice Goss sentenced him to life imprisonment with a minimum term of 30 years. This means that he cannot be considered for parole until he has served at least 30 years. During sentencing, the judge described the murder as a calculated and brutal attack on a quiet and gentle woman who had loved Mitesh and had continued trying to save their marriage despite his treatment of her. The judge told Mitesh that he had shown no genuine remorse and that any pity he felt was only for himself. Jessica's relatives said that the most devastating part was understanding the trap into which Mitesh had deliberately drawn her. They believed that he had used Jessica and the marriage to reach the appearance of a conventional life while hiding his relationships with men. His sexual orientation did not cause the murder. His abuse, deceit, entitlement, and decision to kill Jessica did. Jessica's murder and the domestic abuse she endured led the Middlesbrough Community Safety Partnership to commission a domestic homicide review in accordance with Home Office guidance. The review examined what agencies, relatives, friends, and work colleagues had known, whether warning signs had been missed, and how support for future victims could be improved. The review concluded that individual relatives and colleagues possessed separate pieces of information about Jessica's suffering. Some incidents might have appeared minor when viewed in isolation, but together they revealed a prolonged pattern of coercive control and domestic abuse. The report recommended better public information so that relatives, friends, and colleagues would know how to report concerns, including anonymously. It also recommended stronger professional training on the relationship between mental health difficulties and domestic abuse, and on the barriers faced by victims from minority communities. Jessica had consulted healthcare professionals about anxiety, depression, and the pressure surrounding infertility. The review identified a missed opportunity to ask her directly whether she was experiencing domestic abuse. It stressed that women subjected to abuse are more likely to experience psychological distress, and that women with mental health difficulties may also be especially vulnerable to further victimization. The chair of the Middlesbrough Community Safety Partnership said that Jessica had not reported the violence herself, and that the murder could not have been predicted from agency records. Nevertheless, the case remained a powerful warning. More had to be done locally and nationally to support victims of domestic abuse, particularly people who faced cultural, social, or family barriers to seeking help. Jessica's family said that such tragedies might be prevented more often if people opened their eyes, asked questions, and stopped assuming that everything was fine. They hoped that the review would help people recognize different forms and early signs of abuse and remove barriers, preventing victims from seeking support. Although participating in the review was extremely painful, the family believed that it gave a voice to Jessica and to others who might be suffering in silence. Her relatives said that another angel had left the world. They were devastated that the man they had welcomed into their family, and who had promised to love and protect Jessica, was the person who betrayed and killed her. The Domestic Homicide Review also considered whether the murder should be understood in the context of so-called honor-based abuse. Its panel concluded that Mitesh might have believed that openly ending the marriage because of his relationships with men would bring shame or dishonor within the conservative environment surrounding him. The report's specialist advisor considered Jessica's murder an honor killing because Mitesh may have viewed killing her as the only way to leave the marriage while protecting his public image. This interpretation refers to the perpetrator's beliefs and actions. It must not be used to blame Hindu people, Indian people, or LGBTQ+ people as groups. Attitudes toward homosexuality have varied widely across India and South Asian communities. In some conservative families and social environments, lesbian, gay, bisexuals, and transgender people still experience stigma, intimidation, exclusion, or rejection. Some people conceal their identity or enter marriages in an attempt to avoid discrimination. These pressures can cause profound harm, but they do not excuse deception, domestic abuse, or violence. Mitesh could have separated from Jessica. Instead, he chose control and murder. Historically, homosexuality was wrongly treated as an illness in many countries, and so-called conversion therapies were promoted as treatments. Such practices have included coercive and abusive methods intended to suppress or change sexual orientation. Sexual orientation is not a disease, and coercive attempts to change it can cause serious harm. Stanley Kubrick's film, A Clockwork Orange, is sometimes cited in discussions about behavioral conditioning and the ethical dangers of attempting to reshape a person through force and aversion. Thank you for watching, and please take care of yourselves.